Welcome to Montana. We are standing in the Rosebud River Valley, which just so happens to be in the Northern Cheyenne Indian Reservation. You can see the Rosebud River in front of us here, the trees in the distance going left to right. That is the river. And you can see a large bluff to the east behind the trees. That bluff is dividing the Rosebud River and the next valley over to the east, which is the Tongue River Valley. Now, as you recall, the last segment, the Indians have been moving south up the Rosebud until they arrive at this location here, which is the confluence of the Rosebud River and Davis Creek. At this point, the Indians decide to make the right turn and move off to the west toward the Little Bighorn Valley and toward the Wolf Mountains. And if we pan left, you can see, follow the trees, that is Davis Creek. And it is heading all the way to the west, and there are the Wolf Mountains in the distance. The Indians will go down Davis Creek, cross the Wolf Mountains, then go down Reno Creek until they get to the Little Bighorn River, where they will go into the Little Bighorn Valley and make camp. Now in late June, the 7th Cavalry under General Custer is moving south up the Rosebud as well. And they have been following the Indian Trail for a couple of days, passing abandoned campsites that are getting larger and fresher as they go. On the evening of June 24th, Custer halts the 7th Cavalry to the north of us here at what is now present-day Busby, Montana. The Indian scouts are sent forward, and they soon discover that the trail they have been following has peeled off, has made the right turn, and is moving down Davis Creek. So they return to the camp and inform Custer of this development. Custer decides to follow immediately, and the cavalry breaks camp after dark and continues its march south up the Rosebud. At about 11:30 p.m. on June 24th, 1876, the 7th Cavalry arrives here at the confluence of the Rosebud River and Davis Creek. And at that point, Custer decides to follow the trail rather than continue up the Rosebud. So at 11:30 p.m., the cavalry makes the right turn and starts heading down Davis Creek. The cavalry moves down Davis Creek for about 5 miles before stopping and making camp at a location called the Halt No. 1 Camp. At this point, Custer dispatches 2nd Lieutenant Charles Albert Varnum, the commander of the Indian Scouts, as well as some of the Arikara and Crow Scouts, forward another 5 miles to the Wolf Mountains to a place called the Crow's Nest. And it is from that location that Varnum and the Scouts, once it becomes daylight, will be able to look down Reno Creek and look into the Little Bighorn Valley and see if they can spot any signs of any Indians or any Indian villages. So at 3 o'clock a.m. on June 25th, 1876, you have the 7th Cavalry about 5 miles up on Davis Creek here at the Halt No. 1 Camp, and in the Wolf Mountains there, at a place called the Crow's Nest, Varnum and some of the scouts are waiting for it to get light so they can look down into the valley and see if they can spot any Indians. So at this point, we will move on to the next segment, which will be the Crow's Nest. And we will be looking at the Wolf Mountains from the other side. So now we have to drive around the Wolf Mountains.